Good morning, everyone. Let's welcome you all to the show today. Thank you for joining. I'm Sri Lankan semi-retired in Southeast Asia with Sammy. We are live from Sri Lanka. It is 6 a.m. in Sri Lanka. Let's just make sure all the sounds are working out right here today. Let's just check the live stream. Yeah, looks good, sounds good. I hope you're good. I'm Sri Lankan Sammy. I am a retired, semi-retired Canadian living in Sri Lanka. And I'm tired today. I was out at the beach all day yesterday, so I'm tired. Had a fun time with mom and dad. They came down to Bellevue Beach Club. You guys will see that video eventually. Today we're going to talk about how to work, how I work. Can you do what I do? I don't know. But this is what I'm doing, okay, to earn money so that I can retire, so I can live life. So I want to thank you for joining me today. Please comment in the chat right now just to say hi. Say hi if you're watching after the fact. Please as well comment. Let me know what you think. Really helps this channel if you guys would hit that thumbs up button and comment. I appreciate it. So, working. Why don't we work backwards and go to the beginning? I worked as a telemarketer most of my life, from 16 at various companies, actually in the telecom industry, almost exclusively. Telecom was a big deal back in those days because we were moving from the analog to the digital world in the 80s. So I ended up working for Bell Canada, which is the main phone company. And after school, they offered me a really good job, so I didn't have to really worry about starting in any industry or anything like that. I was already working for them, and then I just rapidly got promoted. And what ended up happening was I got promoted from sales. So I was in sales. So I got promoted through the sales ranks to the management and administrative level. And towards the end, the problem was that the stress was killing me. Stress of the job. I hated it. But in those days, you had a lot of bills. I had a mortgage, I had a wife, I had credit cards and everything like that. So, I had to pay for that life. But I wasn't thinking about retirement. And then when I divorced and I quit my job, I had to look at my bank account and I said, I can't sustain this. I need to make a change. So I left Canada for South Korea. Now, when I landed in South Korea, I landed with almost nothing because, I paid off my ex-wife. And paid off the debts. I mean, just a tiny detail. The divorce was amicable, but the division of assets was 50-50. We were together 10 years. So the debt was joint. So what I did was I said, instead of paying you alimony and then you paying 50% of the debt and me paying 50% of the debt. Why don't we just let me pay the full? Just fix the screen. It looks crappy. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right. So I decided it would be better for us if I paid the full amount instead of paying her alimony and stuff like that. So that's what I did. So when I landed in Korea, I landed with almost nothing. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate that. I am exhausted. I don't know. I had way too much fun at the beach on Saturday. It was really good to get out there and just relax. And I knocked out a whole bunch of videos, which I now have to edit. So I'll try to wake up a little bit. I don't have time this afternoon. I have a whole bunch of stuff to do this afternoon. So I'll try to pump it up a little bit. Thanks for joining, Darren. I truly appreciate it as usual. So, yeah. I mean, basically what happened is I came to Korea with nothing. And when I was working in Korea, I was making good money. But I was only working to pay my bills. I wasn't working to save. And then I you know, most of you know the story up until now. What did I do? After COVID started, I figured out that, you know, boom, you cannot keep doing like this online stuff. It's not going to continue forever. I didn't work at the club anymore because everything was closed. And then I said, screw this, I'm moving to Sri Lanka. I'm going to cut my costs. And that was like the catalyst that forced me to like start focusing on not spending money. Now, yesterday I spent a lot, but that was a reward. Okay, that was reward. You have to treat yourself. But today's we're going to talk about the stresses of working. Okay, a lot. I'm hearing a lot. I watch Caleb Hunter. He's a funny, hilarious guy. I watch this other British guy that does like terrible bosses that message you, and like toxic work environments and stuff. So I was like, how are people putting up with this? And the reason they put up with it is because they're in debt and they have to work to support their lifestyles. So that's the first thing, is like, don't get into debt, because if you're not in debt, then you can just get up and walk away. Like, for example, I'm a freelancer. So if I don't like someone or something, I fire them. I remember I had a good contract with this company, but one of the students was awful. Wasn't listening to me, wasn't participating in the class. And I said, you know what? This is an adult. I said, yeah, it's not going to work. So I messaged them, the boss, and I said, I want this person removed. I'm not going to teach them. I can't work with them. With the kids, I just let them do what they want. You know, if the parents are there, you know, I'm focused and I'm doing the job. But if the kid isn't there, if the kid is just showing up, I let them do what they want, you know, because if I push them too hard or I complain too much, the kid is just going to say, I don't want to study anymore. And then I lose out. So with the kids, I'm a little more lenient. I try to get them to work. I motivate them. But don't do a job and don't let a job take advantage of you. I see this all the time, and I'm like, how, why? I just don't understand it. If you guys can help me understand why people allow themselves to be walked all over. Like, look at the situation in Canada, Air Canada. Now, I knew about this because I have friends in the industry, and I don't remember how I knew about it, but I knew that flight attendants don't get paid technically, don't get paid until the doors close. As soon as only when the plane is in motion do they get paid. They don't get paid for the other work that they do. So, and nobody lives near the airport. It's a good, you have to travel for an hour at least, and then go through security 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get to your set up your locker room or whatever, and then to get to the plane. You're talking about 3 hours before you actually start working that you're participating. I don't think that's fair. That's why I always bring gifts for flight attendants. I always bring a little treat for them in the plane. I'm flying business class, so it doesn't really matter. But if you're sorry, what's going on here? If you're flying, it's always nice to treat them, and they do a lot of work, so I do. Anyway, the kind of advice I want to give to you is to, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who's watching the channel. It's been a week, and I'm looking at all of the analytics. Wow. First of all, this was a great idea to switch to a new channel, because even though the channel is really small, you guys are watching videos. Like, the average view time is ridiculously high. I'm getting good views. I'm getting probably more, the same, if not more, than what I used to get on the old channel. And I kind of figured that I had a core of about 300 to 1,000 subscribers who were real, but whether they came over to this channel or not, I don't know. Right now, I got 40 subscribers, but I've got about 150 viewers, right? And the average view time is over 7 minutes, which means that, out of the 150, 30 or 40 or 50 of you are watching like the full videos. Then there's the demographics. It's all over like 35 years of age. Evenly split male, female, and US and North America, Europe, the countries I want. Terry, good morning. I'm doing well, a little tired. It's 6 a.m. and I was out all day at the beach yesterday. Came home late, and so I'm tired. But I felt it was important that I do the vlog at the same time every weekend. I got to get into the rhythm, because I'm 90% sure that I'm going to start doing YouTube full time in October, November. When my schedule opens up a little bit more. My final contract for the year ends in mid-October, end of October. So probably be ramping up the YouTube in October to do at least 6 videos a week. Not too much partying. I did have a couple of drinks. Let's put it that way. I did have a couple of drinks, but I was in the water. I was walking up and down the beach. I got my 20,000 steps in, but it was a fun day. It was a really great fun day. Mom and Dad came in the afternoon, so it was great. Money well spent at Bellevue Beach Club. You guys are gonna see a great vlog about that coming up. So we're gonna continue talking about the stresses of work. And I want to give this point not about what I do or the jobs I've had or the jobs you can have. I'm talking about the situation in 2025, or how you can get to retirement without dying. Definitely fun in the sun, brother. Let me tell you, it was a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. A little overcast in the morning and in the afternoon, but sunny and warm, nice breeze from the ocean. So we have all these new phenomenons: work from home, remote work, hybrid work, quiet quitting, quiet firing, things like that. I am fully in support of quiet quitting. You are paid from 9 to 5. You only work 9 to 5. You take your 1 hour lunch. You do not eat at your desk. You don't do work at your desk. You take your 15-minute break. You can do it wherever you want, at your desk, in the lunchroom or whatever, but you gotta get up and get away from that computer. Now, the problem that I have is that I've never really had a real job. I was always a salesman. So as a salesman, the job ends at 5 o'clock. Nobody's going to pick up the phone after 5. And when I was a telemarketer, you were penalized for working extra. You had to work up to a certain amount, and then you couldn't work anymore, which was beautiful. The only stress you had as a salesman is achieving your quota, and I was number one salesman all the time. So that didn't stress me out. I loved it because that's how I got paid. I got paid quite well, bonus and commission. So I was always targeting towards that. But when people say, oh, I have to work overtime, I have a deadline, I have so much work to do, I'm like, for me, it doesn't make sense, because my entire life, I've never had a real job. I was a salesman in Canada all through my entire life. I was a teacher and a club promoter in Korea for 18 years. And now I'm an online teacher where I do barely anything. I just sit there like this. I play. So the way I teach my classes is different than most people, and my students love it, which is why I'm paid the way I am and I have the contracts I have. So I've developed a skill of teaching in a way that I've learned how students learn, especially online, and especially language. And I tell my prospective managers and students, 1 hour a day, 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week is not going to improve your English. The best athletes in the world don't become the best or improve by just practicing a few hours a week. They practice 8 hours a day, every day, to improve. Okay, so taking that into account, let's focus on what we can do. Well, what we can do is we can take the English that you have and make you more confident using it. And then we can fix the grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. But teaching you vocabulary isn't going to help you. Okay, if you don't know how to cook, showing you more ingredients is not going to help you become a better cook. So they kind of figure, yeah, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. Learning more vocabulary isn't going to help me if I can't make sentences properly. So how do we do it? Well, it's all about comprehension and speaking. So I don't talk. I let them do 95% of the talking, which they love, because my students in Korea have this concept that the more they talk, the better they become. The biggest complaint was, oh, teacher talks too much. So I tried to make my classes more interesting, and I was talking too much, so I stopped doing it. So I will play a 2-minute video, 30-second news story in English on Korean news. So it's a Korean news station in English. So they're reporting on news that the most Koreans are aware of, right? Because it's local news, not news in US or Europe or wherever. It's news that is important to them. And they listen to it in English, and then they tell me what the story is about. So that helps their comprehension. Then I fix and correct any of their grammar, and I explain vocabulary. So it's drills. It's just drills over and over. So for an hour, that's what these students will do. They will just drill for an hour. Most of my students are 2 or 3 hours a week. That's the average. The kids are a little bit different. They learn vocabulary and the usage of vocabulary in sentences. So it's a little bit more work that I have to do, but I don't have any paperwork, for example. I don't have to do testing. I don't have to mark grades or anything like that. They just basically have to sit there. And 50% of my classes are students just reading storybooks, reading Harry Potter. I don't know why the parents love it, but they've got it into their head now that reading is the best for them. So I'm not going to argue with them, because I just sit here like this. And every once in a while, I'll stop them and say, okay, what does that mean? And then they have to explain it to me. I don't know. Again, no work. So when people say, oh, I have so much work, I have to stay late, I have to do this, I don't understand it, because I've never had to do that my entire life. As you guys will remember this, but not everyone, I was working as a online booking agent for a physiotherapist company in England, but it was way too much work. And he eventually decided to move his business to Dubai and hire a call center to automate all of his work instead of doing it himself. He was doing it himself, which was great, but he didn't provide me the leads that I needed to be able to make the money that I wanted. So I'm glad that he shut down his project. I said, hey, fine. I made some good money for the time that I did work. I was happy with it, but I couldn't have sustained that level. Waking up, hours that I was working were just too much. If I was making more, then I would have done it, but I didn't like it. So I've decided that I'm not going to put any too much effort into working. I'm done that. I can't really do work anymore. I'm not that I'm too old. I'm at the end of my career. But what can you guys do to manage the stress? And again, because I'm not working in a real job, I can't really comment. But what I can do is I can tell you what I've seen online and how I would handle it and how I've handled it in the past. Well, during an interview, I'm not, oh, hi, yeah. I'm like, yeah, you know what? My favorite question, why do you want to work here? Well, you have a job and you want to pay me, and I'm good at what I do, and I like money. So if I do a good job, you will continue to pay me. And if I keep doing a good job, hopefully you'll pay me more money. If I don't do a good job, you'll fire me and I won't have any money. So it's in my best interest to do the best job I can for you. And we're not talking about rocket science here. We're talking about teaching English. So all I have to do with kids is keep the kid happy. And when the mom says, did you like class? Oh yeah, Sam's teacher's class is fun. Oh, it's fun, but what did you learn? Oh, I learned blah, blah, blah. Now the moms are happy. When the moms are happy, they re-sign the contract. And then they tell their friends. So that's the only work I really have to do, is to try to keep everyone happy. Okay, because it's a business. But interviewing, I come off as a little arrogant. But that confidence, which translates into confidence, is what gets me the job. And I've been told that. Like at the end of the interview, do you have any questions? Yeah, when do I start? Oh, well, we have to go through this process. Okay, anything else? Yeah, what did you think of me, honestly? We're not friends. We have no personal relationship. And after today, I probably won't talk to you anymore because you're in HR. I'll have a manager. So tell me the truth. What do you think? Oh, the last interview I had was, you're probably one of the most interesting interviews I've ever had. You answered every question that I could have possibly asked you without me asking it. You're definitely experienced. You definitely have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and you're probably overqualified for this position. So, but I didn't get the job because I asked for too much money, and I wouldn't work for less. They were offering way less than what I wanted, and I said that right at the very beginning. I said, listen, you're probably not going to hire me because I want this level of pay. But from that level, you're going to get someone who's got quality and reliability and longevity. So I didn't get that job. But most times, if I get an interview, I get the job. So how do you manage that? How do you take care of that? How do you do what I do? Well, not a lot of people can do what I do because I'm in a unique situation. I have a Korean work visa. So if you want to be an online teacher, you have to have, first of all, if you're not working in Korea, if you're working online for like a Chinese company or stuff, like they like you to have a TESOL or TEFL or whatever. So you got to pay to get that. And then they don't pay a lot. And it's grueling because you're technically a salesperson. So the more students you get and the more positive reviews you get, the higher your pay is the way they work. You can make up to about 25 bucks an hour, but you start at 11 or 12 or 13 or something like that, US dollar. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. And then every time you do like a positive review or something, like get a positive review, your pay goes up or something like that. And then you're making it too complicated. No, thank you. Goodbye. But for you guys, it wouldn't be easy for you to do what I do, because unless you're already planning to move to a lower cost of living country, then the pay is very low, especially if you're just starting out. I've been doing it I've been teaching for 18 years and I've been doing online for close to 5. All right. So, I have established myself with a few companies who trust me and just, sign me up whenever they have a contract. But if you're doing a job, well, the first thing you have to do is you have to set boundaries. Oh, how come you didn't check your email after hours? Well, I was managing my personal time. That work-life balance. Don't use the catchwords. Work-life balance. You say, unfortunately, my time finishes at 5 o'clock, and then I have to give my time to my family and to myself because that's important to me. Now, if you want me to be on call, we can renegotiate my contract because that's what we agreed upon. You agreed to pay me, and I agreed to work between those 2 hours. So, well, we like people to step up to the plate and be a team player. And I said, well, I'm more than happy to step up to the plate and be a team player within the hours of the contract that you agreed to. Nowhere in that contract does it say outside of business hours, I am required to participate with you. If you wish to that, then I have no problem in doing it. But my time is valuable. And if I'm not performing during the hours that we negotiated, then you should fire me. That ends the conversation pretty quickly. And then you have some stupid managers go, it's not going to look good on your record when it comes up time for review. Oh, so working outside of my contract is a requirement for promotion or salary review? So you just have to play stupid, and you have to not be threatening, because companies always dangle the promotion or the pay raise in front of you to get more out of you. So I saw this one guy who said, he only works the bare minimum, not enough to get not low enough to get fired, but not high enough that he becomes invaluable to that position, where that if they promote you, they will lose an efficient employee. So it all depends on your situation. It all depends on your situation. Work for yourself, be an entrepreneur, work as a freelancer. You can come and go as you want. I think the greatest advice I ever gave was, don't study for a job or don't apply for a job that you feel will pay you a lot of money. That's the wrong way to do it. What you should do is figure out what you're good at, what you like doing, and then figure out a way to get paid to do that, right? There's lots of opportunities, but you need to hustle. And that's the problem with me now at my point in my life. I'm not interested in doing the hustle anymore. And Terry, you're right. My investments will make me money. They will. I've set myself up to the road to success. I have money in investments. I have a pension coming. All of that rolled into everything when I'm 60. Plus, now I'm going to focus on YouTube. I'm going to get this channel up and running. I'm going to get it successful, and I'm going to get sponsors, and I'm going to get ads, and I'm going to get views, and I'm going to get paid, right? And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to stray from why you all chose to view my content. I'm not going to sell out, but I am going to get paid. Okay, I have this on the wrong setting. There we go. That looks a heck of a lot better. Sorry for that. For the last half hour, you guys are looking at my big, fat, ugly face. like to have a little bit more of a view in the background. So thanks, Terry. Again, I truly appreciate your support. And I'm not saying anything that isn't true. You guys all know this, but we have that fear, right? And that fear is based on everything I've talked about in the past about stress, is that we have family stress, we have health stress, and we have financial stress. And if you get yourself into those stressful situations, you have no choice but to succumb to the fear of losing your job. But if you have no fear of losing your job, then you can pretty well just tell them to F off if they're, if you're not happy, which is the situation I'm in. I don't have to put up with crap. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, I fixed the electrical problem. Well, I didn't fix it. The UPS was failing. So every time the switchover happened, the UPS didn't have enough power to keep the cycle going. So I swapped out my large UPS for my small UPS. And the large UPS is now powering the modem and the security cameras in mom and dad's room. That thing needs like no power. So whatever is wrong with it it's okay for that situation. The small UPS I have is powering this screen and the modem in my room so that I don't lose connection. The laptop doesn't need power because when it switches, that runs on battery, so it's not a big deal. It's just this monitor, the camera, and the modem. So, yeah, Darren, I'm speaking with him, but I've paid my taxes, so I'm not in any, I don't. Maybe you can clarify working with. I've paid his company to manage my taxes, and I've paid my taxes for this year, and for this fiscal year, which starts April 1 and ends in March of next year. Strange system. But on some other news, I'm thinking of it. I'm 51% sure I'm going to do this, is upgrade my home office. So as most of you know, let's take a look here. Most of you know I have a very extensive home office. Now, I'm gonna go through my thinking as to why I'm doing this. So I have 3 screens along the bottom. Let me show you what I mean. So let me show you. All right, so this is my home office. So that's my home office. So I have the laptop on the left, okay? And then I have 3 screens of work here. And I have 2 static screens up at the top. One is my stocks and one is like maybe the security cameras or something, whatever's going on. microphones in the middle here, as you can see, and then the light. And I got all my stuff here. Very clean setup, as you can see. Not a lot of desk clutter, right? So that's my home office today. So these 3 screens are powered by this laptop. These 2 screens are running off of another laptop. Terry, I'm going to answer your question in just 1 second. So I don't need these screens, but these are the ones I use when I go on travel. These ones up here. This is what I use. I take this one, I take these 2, and that's what I use to travel. Because I used to travel with these screens, but I don't really need them, right? I don't really need them, and it's too much to carry those. And they're expensive, and I don't want to carry them anymore. So I bought these small ones. Anyway, and I figured I might as well use them if they're just sitting around. I have an older laptop, and I can put like static stuff in the thing. Yeah, Darren, maybe you can follow up. There's no limit to how much money you can transfer globally. It all depends on your country's rules and Sri Lankan rules. Like, for example, in South Korea, I have a limit of how much money I can export per year because I'm not a citizen. Sri Lanka will take as much money as they want. Now, they will flag money over, any country will flag money over, say, $10,000. You'll need to prove where that money came from to prevent money laundering and stuff like that. So talk to your home country bank and then set up an account, an IIA account here in Sri Lanka. Now, what I do, and this is specific for me. So let me finish this. I'm gonna get, these 3 monitors are running off of this laptop. And the problem is the temperature of my laptop is a little higher than should be because I'm running three monitors. So if I get rid of 3 monitors and go to 1 or whatever, the laptop will work less. So I found, well, first of all, a 38-inch monitor is the one I need. Not 32, not 34, not 40, 38-inch. A 38-inch ultra-wide single monitor is very expensive. It's ridiculous, the price. I wouldn't buy it. But I found one online in Facebook Marketplace from someone who was selling it. They were using it in a music studio for processing. I know exactly why they would use an ultra wide, but they said they have a newer one, and this one is 2 or 3 years old, and they're offering it for a huge discount, about $400 or $500 US. Now, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I need to do it now, because that screen is not going to be, that monitor is not going to stay on sale for very long. And it's the only one I've seen that's 38 inches. I've seen lots of 34s, lots of 40s. 40 won't work on my desk. It's too big. So again, I'm using ChatGPT to help me with that. Like figure out the pixels and all of that stuff, like, what I have to get, and will it work? Will it reduce the power usage? Oh, of course, yes, 100%. Heat and everything like that. But then I was also thinking I would like to get a standing desk. So I'm not going to buy the standing desk without buying the monitor. And I'm not going to buy the monitor unless I can get a good price on it. So all told, investment of over $1,000. But then I'm also going to hire someone to set everything up and like set up the desk, right? Because I don't want to set it up. And then also like do the cable management and make sure I have the right cables, because there's like USB 2.0, 2.1, 3.0. Which cables do you use? I'm using the wrong ones. 99% guaranteed that I'm using the wrong ones. All right. Thanks, guys, Terry and Darren, for, this is what I want. I want a community of answers. I don't have the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I want us to get together to give the answers from our personal experience. Yeah, so I don't know what an IIA account is because I don't move that kind of money around. What I do is I set up a US dollar account in Korea at my bank and a US dollar account at commercial bank here. And then I SWIFT. I use the bank system to transfer. Now, I use ChatGPT to find out which system would be better for me, Wise or Western Union or all of that wonderful stuff. Oh, by the way, remember, if you're moving money into Sri Lanka, it's easy. Moving money out of Sri Lanka is not. Okay? Moving money out of Sri Lanka is not easy. You have to, I don't think you can do it. I've never tried it, but I was talking with HSBC a little while ago. And they explained, yeah, you can't. And then I realized, oh yeah, you can't take money out, because when I go to the bank to get US dollars, I have to bring my passport and I have to bring my flight ticket. And then they put a stamp in the back of my passport saying authorized to export money in the passport. So Wise is great, but it only works in certain countries to set up, not to use, to set up. I can't, because it's not accepted in South Korea and it's not accepted in Sri Lanka. So in your countries, it might be. That's the problem. That's the only problem I'm running into, is that I live in a country that has I live and work in two countries that have strict money laundering laws that prevent this digital kind of non-banking service. Yeah, Wise is the best. But Darren, what I was saying is I was looking at every option, right? Because again, even with the YouTube, I'm stuck with one pay vendor because I can't even use PayPal. I can't even set up PayPal because it's not accepted in Sri Lanka. I have to use Stripe, which is in the Buy Me the Coffee, right? And it's very strict. Now, again, even with Wise, I found out that bank to bank is the same. And here's the reason why. I'm very unique in this situation. I don't know if everybody has this, but the difference between Wise and SWIFT is what they call bank-to-bank transfers, is, okay, if you are transferring from, let's say, Korea to Sri Lanka, Korea switches it to US, transfers it to Sri Lanka switches it from US to Sri Lanka. There's two exchange rates and fees and rates that the exchange rate is done. So you lose money on that. So that's why I have a US dollar account and a US dollar account. There's no exchange. Now, there's only one exchange. When it lands in Sri Lanka, it lands as US dollars. There's no exchange. Then I will exchange it when I choose at a preferred rate. So what happens is why I beat or match the Wise is that I have a preferred exchange rate. I have 50 to 75% discount on the spread between the buy and sell. So that's where when ChatGPT calculated how much, which one was cheaper, it said you're not safe. You're not safe. It's a negligible amount using Wise for me particularly. Now I can't use Wise to transfer money to Sri Lanka because I can't set up an account in Korea. And even sending it to Philippines or wherever when I was because I was trying to figure out a way to get money to the Philippines without having to carry all of my cash with me for 6 months. I want to carry $6,000-$7,000 with me, and I don't want to have to use a bank ATM to withdraw money every month. But I found HSBC. I can withdraw $700 max and no ATM fee. So I don't mind paying $2 for an ATM fee. That's not a big deal to me. But what it was is that the banks there, to maximize their profits, limit the amount of money per transaction. I can withdraw as much as I want, but only most banks, mostly it's about $250, $300. It's not enough for a month. I need at least $700 to $1,000 a month to live, right? Because I have to pay my rent in cash. My landlord will want the rent in cash. Sorry guys, can you just give me 1 second? Talk amongst yourselves. All right, I'm back. Thanks again for waiting, guys. Sorry about that. Let's see, what are you guys talking about? Yeah, Wise, I've heard, is really easy to use. You just need to check with your home country if you can set up an account, how to do it, how to set it up. Just use ChatGPT. It'll walk you through the rates for your country. Okay, so that's really important, is that you got to double check those rates. But again, I've never used it because I can't set up an account. I can receive money. Okay, I got paid using Wise. And then I transferred the money to my Korean account. I can't remember which account I transferred to, but I've received money using Wise, but I can't send money out of Sri Lanka or out of Korea. You can't send money out of Sri Lanka. Forget that. That just doesn't exist. But I couldn't send money out of Korea using Wise. It was very difficult and expensive. Yeah, Terry, with the Korean banking situation, I can take money out of Sri Lanka. It's just you have to go through a whole big process. Right? You have to give a reason why. Now, if I go to an ATM and I use my Sri Lankan ATM card, then I can take money out. But it's limited per day, per week, whatever. There's a limit, right? So I'm not going to worry too much about that, because by then I'll have a credit card and I'll just use the credit card when I travel, and I'll do what I'm doing right now, which is I will have US cash that I have taken out of the country with my passport and my flight ticket as proof of why I need US cash. Yeah, and so Darren would know, Terry, because he is an expert on cross-border business, because he's been doing it for quite a while, and I will defer to him as to what is the easiest and most cost-effective way to import money into Sri Lanka, because he's done it and he's a foreigner. I'm a national, so I do know how to import money into Sri Lanka, but I'm in a unique situation because of Korea as the base of my export. I stopped watching South Park and Simpsons. It just got to be just too much. I didn't have time. I should get back into watching them because I have more free time. But I have got so much. Like, just take a look at this is this is my storage drive of all of the videos I have. So these are all movies, and it is about, I'm going to tell you right now, this folder is half a terabyte of files, half a terabyte. So all these TV shows that I haven't had a chance to get to watch. I mean, Sopranos, I've seen a couple of times. Silicon Valley is an old movie, old TV show, comedy. Lie to Me is an old comedy or drama. House of Cards, I want to watch again. Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, Entourage, Foundation. I started watching it and I haven't gotten through it. I'm only on the beginning of season 1 and they're on season 3 right now. Fubar is the Arnold Schwarzenegger TV series, really good. My Name is Earl. I'm just rewatching that. I mean, I watch a lot of TV shows that I've watched before. I just want to watch them again. But I have a lot of stuff to watch. I'm still trying to catch up on Big Brother. I have 2 episodes of Big Brother sitting in my folder, in my downloads that just came out this week. I haven't had time to even watch this week. So watching TV shows, I'll stick to my top favorites, Doctor Who, Star Trek. What do I have here? I have an app that shows me what TV shows are up that I like. So Dexter, Resurrection, Big Brother, Alien Earth, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Foundation. What's this show? Oh, Wednesday. Oh, The Paper, which is a new TV show, kind of like The Office spinoff. The Walking Dead is starting up again. High Potential, which is a cop drama, Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. Really good show. Survivor, Amazing Race, Big Brother, my 3 reality shows. Abbott Elementary is a comedy starting back soon. Elizabeth, which is a good show. Solar Opposites is the only cartoon that I'm watching, which I found funny. Lincoln Lawyer, I like. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage. I love that show. A Man on the Inside is really funny. The guy from Cheers, the guy who played Sam in Cheers, I can't remember his name. He is a senior citizen private investigator. It's really funny. Fallout is coming. So these are all the TV shows that I've got booked in this app called TV Time. Yeah, Bob's Burgers. I started watching it and then I lost interest. Although, and even South Park, they stretch out. I like this. Like they'll take when he hits his shin and they'll run that for like 2 minutes. Like, geez, I mean, it's funny if you have the free time. I don't have the free time. So I catch all of the top scenes from South Park and Saturday Night Live and all of that on TikTok. Rick and Morty. Oh my gosh. I will never stop watching Rick and Morty. I will rewatch Rick and Morty 100 times. The new series is kind of like, but the story arc in last season was amazing. Like, love Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is off the hook. I love that show. Thanks for sharing. What else can you do to avoid stress in work so that your work can be happy? Don't feel like the company, that you need the company needs you. And this is from personal experience, because when the company comes to a financial crossroad, they're going to throw you under the bus, not themselves. They're not going to cut their own hand. They're going to support their shareholders if they're a publicly traded company, or themselves. They're not going to support you, especially if you're in a union. Do not join a company that has a union. My personal opinion, I don't agree with unions because I believe that you should be paid for merit, not just because you're collectively. It didn't work out for me when I was working at Bell Canada. I didn't like it. Terry, I don't mean like, yes, the stress, yes, but I said like what I want to try to focus on is more like how to not even get into that situation, right? And the number one thing is not to be financially hobbled. If you're hobbled financially, then you're tied to the job because the job helps relieve another stress, right? Because if I lose my job, then I have these bills that I have to pay, which I can't afford. So It all comes down to money. And I think if you are just starting out, if you're in your 20s, don't spend any money for 10 years. Okay? Don't. Every time you get a raise, put that money away. Okay? I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. I think I'm going to get it tattooed on my forehead. Saving money isn't about saving, it's about not spending the money you have. You might not be able to work more, you might not be able to earn more, but you can definitely not spend more. Okay? And that's what I'm doing. Is like right now I'm thinking, should I spend $1,000 on redoing my home office? I'm perfectly fine doing this with the setup I have now. The laptop is going to last. Maybe not. I mean, it's running at 84 degrees right now, the CPU. That's because it's running 3 screens, right? And it's using the video camera. Maybe get a new computer. Spend the money, instead of spending $1,000 on a new office setup and keeping this one, is invest in a new computer. Yeah, Darren, things are not looking good in Canada financially. Canada is, and it's not because of outside influence, it's internally. Taxes are too high. Cost of living is rampant. Salaries have not increased to offset inflation. And it's just ridiculous. Like, I don't know how people can survive, the middle class. Mom was saying they have good pensions. They have 3 pensions. They have their 2 government pensions. They both get old age supplement, plus they have my dad's work pension. Mom took early retirement, so she doesn't get a pension from her company. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pensions. They have 2 from the government and 1 from the company. And even with all of that money, Mom said there's no way they could have survived in Canada. Absolutely no way. And then to have a private nurse, forget about it. Dad would have been in a pickle right now. There's no way. She has no idea how her friends are surviving. You know, we're very well off here in Sri Lanka. Well, they are very well off in Sri Lanka. But how people can afford to live there, I'll never understand. It used to be cheaper to live in Canada than it was in the United States when I was living there 20 years ago. But that's all changed. And that's why I think this channel resonates with a lot of North Americans, is that they're looking at their paycheck, which only goes up a few percentage points a year, and then they're looking at inflation, and they're like, how am I to retire and continue to live on less money where the prices are increasing every year in a country, right? So yeah, forget about it. And being taxed and taxed and taxed. I didn't think about taxes until I got older. So Tara, are you saying that Australia's retirement benefits are better? Because again, I haven't explored that. I mean, I'm looking at my retirement pension and I'm like, that's free money for me. Oh yeah, cost of living is ridiculous in Canada. It's as high as living in New York City or Singapore. If you live in Toronto or Vancouver, which is where you have to live if you want a job. Yeah, Darren, you mentioned that means tested. Like I didn't Google that, but what I assume is that if you're rich, you don't get a pension. If you're poor, you get the pension, like kind of like welfare, right? Kind of like if you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you with no charge type of thing. But if you're too rich, you can't get an attorney. I'm assuming that's what you mean, but how is that fair? Okay, let me ask you this, Darren. Do you pay into the pension plan from your salary? Okay, how is the pension plan funded? That's the question. So in Canada, the pension plan is funded by the people, by your salary. They take a percentage out of your salary, I think it's 1%, to fund everyone's pension plan. So the pension plan then uses that money to invest. Yeah, so I'm entitled to my pension regardless of how much money I make because I invested into the pension. It's my money, right? That the government gets to use to pay others, like to pay people who are retiring today. I started paying the pension when I was 18 years old, which was then used to pay out people who were 60. My money that I invested years ago is paying my parents. So it's their money. And then old age security because we're a socialist country, old age security is there as a top up to offset inflation and cover medical costs in seniors. So pension starts at 60 and then old age security starts at 70. So since mom and dad are both over 80, they get both of those. If an Australian lives outside of Australia, they don't pay your pension. No, in Canada, you get your pension again because it's your money. It's your money. Now, the only difference is if you're living in Canada, you can get other benefits and it's not taxed as much as if, okay? Now, when you're living outside of Canada, there's a different tax bracket, good tax calculation, and you don't get the top-up benefits because you're not a resident, like carbon tax and stuff like that. But I think the main idea why our pensions are given to us is because it's our money. We paid into it, right? So it's your money. You can't be denied that money. So Darren, my question to you is, do you pay into the pension fund from not from taxes, from your salary, right? I'm assuming the pension funds are funded by taxes, but in Canada, they're not. They're funded by salary tax, a very specific salary tax. There's three taxes in Canada. There's income tax, there's unemployment insurance or employment insurance, and pension, if I recall correctly. Those are the three tax deductions I see on my payslip. The income tax is about 28% starting. I don't remember, it was 20 years ago. And then the other two are about 1%. Property tax is about 1%. Gas tax is, we all know gas tax. I haven't had a car, so I don't know. 50%. Yeah, so that kind of sucks. Yeah, most most pensions or anything to do with residency means you have to spend 180 days consecutive, right? That requires residency. So Darren, I'm going to just ask one more time if you can answer this. Well, I can Google it. It's like, do you pay into your pension in Australia? So again, this is why I like having this community. We share information and ideas. So I'm really glad that we have this chance, especially you two guys. You two are like my greatest sponsors. I absolutely love you both. Okay. And loads of information. Terry, I mean, I don't know you that well, but Darren, I know quite well because we've talked personally. So I know a lot about his business and personal life. Personal service, again, this is like a different system. So I'm going to look that up offline. And see, how is it funded? That's probably why, because you don't pay into it. Otherwise, that would be illegal to not give you your money. How can you not get access to money that belongs to you, regardless of where in the world you are? And here's the other thing. My mom gets survivor benefits. So when dad passes away, well, he will pass before her. She's younger than him, hopefully. She will get a certain percentage of his private pension from his job, and she will get the full benefits of his pension till she passes. Survivor benefits. God, I love socialist country. So Sheila's going to be making quite a lot of money. So what you're saying, Darren, is that you don't pay into the pension fund. It's sponsored by taxes. And then at the beginning of your retirement, you have to prove that you qualified for welfare, retirement welfare. It's just basically what that sounds like to me. Yes, Terry, that's correct. You only need to live in Canada for 20 years, which is what I did. There's other rules, but see, the beautiful thing is that Canada and Korea have a pension treaty. So my time in Korea and my time in Canada is connected. And then my payout is by one country or the other. So I'm going to have the payout done by Korea. It's much more efficient to contact the Korean pension fund as opposed to the Canadian pension fund. Contacting them is useless. But in Korea, I can email them and call them and deal with them. So Canada will send the money to Korea, then Korea will send the money to me, combined. So they will combine how long was I in Canada? 20 years in Canada, 21 years. I paid into the system 21 years. And then in Korea, I paid into their system for 18 years. So all told, almost 40 years, which is the maximum. So I'll be calculated on that amount. So, which is a good thing. But yeah, pension for me, when I started saving my money and looking at investments and looking at my cost of living and my expected earnings, I never used my pension because it was so far away. But now that it's coming up close, like originally I was thinking, I'll wait until 65 or 70 to get my pension because they pay you more. You take a penalty if you take your pension earlier. But then I watched this one guy on TikTok or Instagram or whatever said, that's a scam that the government is pushing, that you should wait till you're 65 or even 70 because you get more money per month, but for less time because you die. Take the money right away over the course of your remaining life to get more money. Unless you live over 85. If you live past 85, then you're losing money. A significant amount, right? But how many people are going to live over 85, right? So get the money now and use that money. So what I've calculated my retirement fund, the money coming in from investments and work and all of that, that's what I'm going to live off. The pension, which is substantial, is going to be used to top up the capital and to grow the capital so that I will have more money coming in as I get older from investments, right? Because that will offset inflation and cost of living increases and medical. So because I'm not going to need to take advantage of medical costs and increased cost of living for 10 or 20 years till I'm 70 or 80. And in that time, the money that I'm receiving is a huge amount of money that can be used for investments to grow my capital so that, again, not only do I have increased monthly income, but I'll continue to have that pension come in for the rest of my life. Then eventually, in probably 10 or 20 years, when mom and dad are both gone, the house will be sold. And that'll be another shot of capital infusion, which will cover me for the rest of my life, medical. So my thing is that by the age of 80-ish, I will settle down in one place and pick a place, probably Sri Lanka, just to make it easier, where I can move into a elder care facility, depending on my health, and I have to have an executor with the power of attorney to make sure I'm properly taken care of, because I'll have no one. I won't have anybody. I'll need to have someone to watch over me to make sure I'm properly taken care of, or not. But guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. This was fun. I really love having you all talk about things that are important to you. Stay tuned this month. This week coming up, a couple great videos. And then starting in September, we're really going to get into it. I'm going to have alternate between like serious videos and then fun videos just to keep you entertained. So, and to, like I said, grow the audience. I want to thank everybody for watching, for logging on. Really always great to see you all. And I know Terry and Darren are on live, but I know that you guys, the rest of you, watch after the fact, because I see the analytics of you watching, and some of you comment as well. So I want to say thank you to that. Darren, have a safe, wonderful Sunday night. Okay. Have a good week tomorrow. Terry, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Okay. The Sunday morning. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I am going to have a nice coffee right now. Or maybe I'll just take a nap first and then have a nice coffee. Terry, it's always great to see you, brother. I really, truly appreciate it. Darren, thank you so much for your input. I really appreciate the heads up on that area that I don't have any experience on. I'm pouring money into large amounts of money into Sri Lanka, but enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. I'm Sri Lankan Sammy. Retire in Southeast Asia with Sammy. Remember, learn to live life. Don't let life live you. Always, always be good to each other. You see how we get along. That's what I love. That truly inspires me. Okay. And remember, we're not strangers. We're just friends who haven't met yet. We'll see you all on the other side.